you guys do better down the stretch?
I think we just, our guys, the one thing we've talked about me being up in the box, that's the one thing you don't get to feel truly what's going on the sidelines. But from what I witnessed, the guys, they just kept playing, kept fighting, kept believing. And, bottom line, to answer your question, we made plays when we had to, got off the field when we had to, limited them from obviously explosion plays, which is always huge. So collectively, the group, the coaches and the players down on the grass did a great job.
Your coverage seemed a lot tighter. Was that those guys playing better, or some adjustments on your end to kind of get them up a little bit closer?
Yeah, I mean, I think a little, in a game like that, it's you got to change coverage principles, obviously, which we did. But yeah, the coverage that all those guys did, it was a great job. And we had new guys in there. We had, Corey Ballantyne, just got called up and was just going to be, our fifth corner. And then all of a sudden, he plays the entire second half. So kudos to Greg Williams and Corey just going and playing and doing a great job.
I don't know if you have a lot of 17-point fourth quarter comebacks in your career to compare it to, but is there any less of an emotional rush when you're in the press box and kind of have that bird's eye view spread out the way that you were than it otherwise would be?
Yeah, I mean, I think anytime, even if whether you're a spectator, I think just being in that stadium, it was wherever you were, it was amazing to be a part of. And it's just, again, it goes back to those guys, because those are tough situations to be in. When you look up at the scoreboard and it's you're down 17 points, it's like, man. But it's a great example for everyone. In the National Football League, you got to play 60 minutes, and it does not matter. It's not over until that final tick clicks off. But no, it was very emotional up in the press box as well.
Matt himself was saying it was an emotional win for you guys defensively, especially with the way that you responded after the previous week to have the performance that you did. Now you have the short week. What do you do after being on such an emotional high like that to flush it as quickly as you need to this week?
Sure. Well, I definitely think it's, on short weeks, these Thursday night games, it's definitely a lot better from a preparation standpoint for coaches today. And then when the players come in the building, it's definitely better to come in after a win than a loss. But yeah, these short weeks it's a challenge for everyone. Everyone's got to play in them. It's the day and age now where we have, potentially multiple, we have multiple Thursday games, us specifically. It just comes with the territory. And, but it's definitely, it's a lot funner from a preparation standpoint coming in after a W. There's no doubt.
Joe, Rashan, I think, has played like 57, 58 total snaps in 3 games.
Yeah.
If he can do what he's done in those small sample size, what could he do if he plays 57 in a game?
Sure. He's doing great, and we absolutely knew when the season started that he was going to be on a pitch count, and Flea and his staff do a great job with that, and he'll continue with that. We'll as when we come in tomorrow and see where everyone's at. I haven't even seen Flea yet today. So, but Rashawn's doing a great job. He'll continue to get a little bit more and more every week. But yeah, he's and as I mentioned even last week, you guys know Rashan. He wants to be out there every single play. But he's definitely taking advantage of his at bats. There's no doubt about it, and he's doing a great job.
Does it make it easier though? Not only is he playing well in that limited sample size, but you do have guys that you trust eating up some of those other snaps. How much easier does that make it to not have such a field tilter on the field?
Absolutely. It's it's at every position. It's a collective group, but definitely when you're talking about the guys up front, because that's obviously the 2 positions on defense that you rotate the most, whether it's the inside front guys or the outside. But it's great, when Rashan is on a snap count. You got guys like Preston Smith, and now we got young guys like I still consider, JJ's still a very young guy, you got Van Ness, you got Justin Hollins. So it's great when Rashan can't be out there as much as we want him to, that you got especially 3 young guys in 55, 90, and 47 that are stepping up, doing a great job.
Was there a moment yesterday's fourth quarter where you realized, it's such a high mountain to climb when you're down 17-0, you realize, wow, this is real now, like there's a real chance that you can come out with a win?
Sure, I think you just got to have, even in those situations, you got to have a mindset. It's just the way, especially the players, the way they're built, that absolutely anything can happen. But I think once we did score, once we got that field goal, we're like, okay, let's. But that was the great thing, and that was kind of what I was alluding to, is that I could hear it on the headset, but that's the guys, I know from a defensive standpoint, they never flinched. They never didn't believe that it was going to happen. And then, once the offense finally got going, they were like, okay, we got this. So, but again, I'll say it again, 60 minutes of football in the National Football League, a lot can happen. You never know. So, but the guys fought and believed and just kept chopping wood.
Joe, you've had Isaiah fill in before. How did you feel he did yesterday, stepping in for Devondre? He might have to play for a little bit now.
Sure. That's again another thing with the National Football League. It's a violent game. Guys, they get nicks and bumps and bruises, and sometimes a guy comes out for a limited amount of time. Sometimes it's a long period, and that's why it's so important to, I've said it before, you have starters and you have starters in waiting, because those, I just hate ever referring to those guys as backups, because you're literally one play away from being a starter. So, and it's just, the coaches do a great job. KO does a great job with those guys, because not only did Isaiah have to go in, Eric Wilson went in also, so already mentioned, Greg with the job that he did with, Corey, not only CV, but also CB, both Ballantyne and Valentine got thrust into playing a lot more than we expected when the ball was kicked off, so, but those guys just always have to be ready, because you never know. And that's why, preparation time is so important, practice time is so important, those walkthroughs, those meetings. We as coaches, we preach that all the time, but you truly never know. You're one snap away from being a starter as soon as it happens. So those guys did a great job.
Joe, the team put out that video of Rashan getting the game ball in the locker room yesterday.
I still have, I was there witnessing it, but I still haven't seen the video. Was it pretty cool?
That's what I was going to ask, because it showed someone in a white shirt giving him a hug. It looked like you, but I could only see the back of your head. There was only.
Are you talking about my bald spot?
I was just going to say there was only a tiny bald spot, nothing like.
Yeah.
I knew it.
It's a calic. It's not a bald spot.
Can you quantify what that moment meant for you, for him, and how he's able to have a game like that with 3 sacks, 3 games off a torn ACL?
No, it's no. I'm going to try not to get emotional, just because it means so much to him, and to witness, him just to truly sit here and witness what he's gone through. Because I wasn't, I'm the most positive, upbeat person on the planet, as you guys know. I was like, God, there's no way Rashan's going to be ready, week 1. And just to watch what he's done week 1, week 2, and then to see that, it was really, really cool. So it was a cool moment to be a part of, not only the entire game, but just the post game, and you could see how much it means to that kid. I mean, he is. You talk about all in, and it's really neat that he was able to accomplish what he was able to accomplish with what he's gone through the last 10 months.
And Joe, you know a little something about Jared Goff. How you think he's playing?
Well, I mean, I've told you guys now for 3 years. I went to a Super Bowl with the guy, so I think he's. I think he's an elite quarterback. There's no doubt about it. And, I think now with him being in Detroit, going into the third year in that system. You know, you can see he's got full command of the offense, and he's got, you know, really good weapons around him. But Jared's an elite quarterback in this league. It's going to be a great challenge for us Thursday night.
Kind of thinking along those lines, Joe, how do you think Keyshawn's done in the slot, considering what's coming up here on Thursday night?
You know, I again, another guy that, you know, Keyshawn was, you know, I know he's been our starter the last 3 games, but I mean, you know, Keyshawn was a guy that was, you know, I think the most snaps he'd ever played on defense was last year, and what was it, you know, just over 300 snaps. So I think hopefully Keyshawn's just going to get better and better and more comfortable. You know, playing the nickel corner position, that star position, it's a, you know, it's a different world in there, and Keyshawn's definitely got the right mentality to do it, but things happen a lot faster. They obviously put different body types in the slot from an offensive standpoint. So I think Keyshawn's, you know, he's done a really good job, and hopefully will continue to get better and better as the season goes on.
A couple of the guys mentioned last night that it felt like early on.
Who mentioned? I didn't hear.
A couple of the different guys last night mentioned that it felt like early on the Saints were trying to mimic some of what Atlanta had done, stretching you with that wide zone. What exactly does that look like, and does it feel like that's something you're just going to have to expect over the next game or two?
Yeah, I mean, this is a copycat league, you know, and if you put something on tape unsuccessfully, you better anticipate that it's going to show up until you are successful with it. And that's, you know, that's all 3 phases of this league: offense, defense, and special teams. You know, if you don't successfully defend something with us specifically, it's going to show up until you stop it. So, yeah, that's quite common. You hear that all the time, but it's true. It's a copycat league. They're gonna copy something if they see you struggling with it.
Joe, Matt had mentioned with Darnell, kind of seeing the growth of him, not only as a player, but as a person as well. Could you kind of get a sense for that, you know, over the past year? And just what do you think he's kind of done as far as sort of being a leader in that room?
Yeah, he's really, not that I ever thought that, you know, I'm gonna say, you know, Darnell's really grown up. Not to say that I thought he was immature. I'm not saying that at all. But it's been really cool to see him maybe take a step, I should say, instead of growing up. He's really taken a step this year as far as a leadership role. I love the play style he's playing with right now. He's flying around, you know, he's throwing his body around. I love it. And, you know, sometimes Darnell's always been very confident. You know, he's led in his own way. But we've had some older guys in that room that were, you know, Adrian Amos was, you know, he was a captain. And sometimes, you know, because Darnell's still a young player. Sometimes when you have a veteran, you know, in the same room as you know, not that Darnell's ever taken a back seat, but, you know, Adrian was not only one of the leaders on our defense, he was one of the leaders on our team. So I think with Adrian being gone, I think that's given an open door for Sav to be able to, you know, lead, and I think he's done a really good job. He's but even more so than what he's done from a leadership role, I just, you know, I really enjoy the play style that he's playing with right now.
So, Joe, what were your thoughts on their final drive? I mean, there's still time on the clock. You've got Jameis there at quarterback, and they cross, you know, the 50. But you get that 3rd and 8, you get that stop there. What were the keys to that drive to win the game, essentially?
Well, unfortunately, you know, I thought, you know, Corey made a great play earlier on the previous drive, and then they went back at him, and I thought it was a challenged contestant play that actually 12 made for him. And in that situation, you're just saying, well, hopefully we can't give up any more yards. You know, we got to make it as long as field goal as possible. And then on the 3rd down play, talking about Darnell, made an unbelievable play on a flat route and a great tackle. You know, because in that situation, once they do get in that position, you're just saying, okay, if they are going to attempt the field goal, it's got to be as long as possible. And thankfully, you know, Sav made a great tackle on the guy to make it a long field goal that thankfully he pushed.